Heather Murdoch.
To Love, Hope, and Faith. My guest today is Mikey Roggero.
Yes.
I like to say that last name, Roggero.
You said it well. You don't know how many adaptations I've gotten to that, so you did great.
Thank you. Good, good. And I know we struggle over, are you Mike, Mikey, or Michael? And you said any of the three will do.
So God calls me Michael. My wife and close friends call me Mikey. People that just kind of outside call me Mike.
Yeah.
Some people call me just, hey, you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't
Call
care.
me whatever you want.
Exactly. Okay, so when we went to break, you were sharing your story. So let's get back to that point.
Yeah. Okay. So, growing up, I had some issues. So, I started to act out in anger towards my family and those around me, and I became just hard to manage and hard-hearted, and to the point that I was physically fighting my dad.
Wow.
Who was
Your real dad or your stepdad?
my stepdad. My biological dad was out of the picture, but my stepdad adopted me, so he's my dad. He raised me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Forgive me, but I mean, a cop. So he was a cop, and he had to be careful not to harm me or anything, but I attacked him with everything that I could.
Wow.
Baseball bats, hockey sticks. I was so depressed on the inside and so mad. I didn't know how to function with that stuff. So my mouth, everything. And just to share with you, not to glorify past, but some things that I did, just to show you kind of where I was at.
Yeah, exactly.
I would greet him by spitting in his face and calling him expletives.
Are you kidding me?
At 12, 13, and 14 years old.
Wow.
I almost gouged his eye out with a chunk of tile at one point. I hit him with everything I could find.
Wow.
My mom, I kicked her stomach when she was pregnant.
Whoa.
One time.
I can't believe it. I mean, you just for who you are now, it's hard to even imagine.
You know, it's the power of God that can change lives. It's radical. So,
I'm sorry, let's go back for just a second. So what was the source of all the anger? Was it the divorce?
Okay. So it was that. So my parents getting divorced, my dad abandoning me was my bio dad.
The rejection there. And
that was it. And I just didn't know how to connect things. I didn't know how to get over those issues. My mom, in having to deal with kids now on her own before my dad came in the picture, I essentially thought that I was the man of the house.
Okay.
So at 8, 9 years old, thinking you're the man of the house, and then dad coming in saying, no, I am.
I can see that.
Yeah. So with all of that, just anger and bitterness and rage that was undirected in my mind, I didn't know what to do with it, so I acted out.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I am primarily at my family. Other people outside couldn't tell as much unless they peeked in on the inside, but it kind of finally came to a head when I was 14. Now, we had gone to church on and off to Calvary Chapel Pine Grove. Forgive me. And my parents had a birthday party for my uncle that we were having at our house in Ione. At one point said, hey, so you're going to youth group tonight? And I said, heck no, but I said other languages.
Other words,
Yeah, so I said, no way, I'm not going. And finally they said, yes, you are, because it was so bad. But
they were desperate, probably.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I finally said, okay, I'll go. Because, it'd be better than hearing them talk about it forever. So we got in the car, we drove up, and once we got to Calvary Chapel Pine Grove for youth group on a Sunday night, my dad pulled out a duffel bag out of the van. And I said, what is that? And he said, you are going home with the pastor, George Stathos.
Oh my gosh, what a great opportunity.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, exactly. Poor George, though. No, just kidding.
He was.
But he's an amazing man of God.
Oh my
so
gosh.
what a huge benefit for your life.
It was crazy. I mean, that was a stepping stone. That wasn't where I gave my life to Christ. But starting there, I walked into youth group and I was mad. I was angry. My parents were making me go home with his family. That tried to reach out to me at different times, and I wasn't having it. But then when I came into the youth group, Matt Newton, who's a local guy, was one of the youth leaders, and he ran up to me and greeted me with open arms and said, come sit by me. And so that kind of got me to change a little bit. I was like, okay, people like me, even though they don't know me. This must be a cool
acceptance,
place.
Because the source of your anger could have been rejection and abandonment, like you said, and so now you're getting accepted and loved on.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself. I went home with them for 4 days, and I enjoyed it. They bought me ice cream. They showed me movies. Yeshua and Angel Stathos, who are now the pastors up at Calvary, they were living there at the house at that time, so they mentored me and talked to me.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, it was crazy, and I got involved with the youth group at that point, and I made kind of I want to be part of this decision, and was able to go to a whitewater camp that summer. So I was excited. We went up to Klamath Falls, and we were going down the river. And I was excited because I can't think of his name now, but Johnny from the first Karate Kid. So Billy Zabka.
Okay.
Yeah, Billy Zabka. He was behind our raft while we were floating down, and he walked by, and I thought I was so popular because I was like, hi, and he said, hi.
That like made your day. Yeah. The things that kids get excited about. Yeah.
Exactly. And as a 14-year-old that had no acceptance, it had all these issues that I just fostered and let it stay there. Anyway, on that trip, I made kind of a verbal decision for Jesus. I quickly kind of walked away from it when I discovered girls and other things, but I was in the church now, so I was always at church and always at youth group. But for the following year, so now 15, I was the greatest faker that you knew. So
living a double life.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's so common. I know.
I was the James Bond of Christian. I'm just so yeah, I was at youth group, and I was with my hands in the air, and I was all excited and clapping to songs and pretended to be a Christian. And when I got home, I was just not as abusive as before, but had this newfound confidence that was a little bit. It just turned the wrong way. And so I lived that way for a year. Mouth was bad, actions were bad, throwing stuff at my parents.
Wow.
I just out of control again, but in a different way now that I had a little bit more confidence in it.
So
I showed
pride,
other people.
some pride there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So which was funny because another person in the community, Brad Wheat. Brad, I love you. Brad was my youth pastor at that point. So I had a few different youth pastors, Chris Norman, people that put into my life, and Charlton Churchill.
Yeah,
I just
that's
throwing
great.
those names out there.
All great guys.
Brad, who I actually saw this last Sunday at the baccalaureate service at Grace Fellowship, I got to share this with him, which was so cool. But he, every Thursday, picked me up after school and did a Bible study with me because he saw that I was running. He saw that I was just living this double life. And so he picked me up, and he would counsel me and mentor me and pray with me every time before he dropped me off at my house. And sometimes I would get a note from school saying, hey, your youth pastor's picking you up today. And I just, I loved it, but in my personal life, I had so many things going on because getting heartbroken by girls and things. My parents.
So you were compartmentalizing everything. Sounds like.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, this life here, this life, this life, and you didn't want them to meet.
No.
Yeah.
No, and they did one day because my mom found a 13-page suicide letter on my computer.
Wow.
I told you I got depressed. I was internalizing everything, and I put a good smile on the outside, and so
wearing our mask.
Oh my goodness! So she sent it to my youth pastor,
Good.
and I got that letter. And Brad Wheat, being the loving man, and I was also kind of proud because people thought that I looked like him at that time, so they thought I was his little brother. So for me, I was like, my youth pastor's my brother. And so I got a note at the school at Argonaut High School when I was a junior saying, hey, he's going to pick you up from school. And I was like, uh-oh, what happened? And when I got in his car, he held up a pack of pages. And he said, your mom found this and sent it to me. And I said, what is that? And I quickly discovered that my mom found that on my computer, a little word processor computer in my room, and because we didn't have all that stuff back then. So and he said, I want to let you know, out of respect for you, I did not read this. But if you want to talk to me about it, you can. Shortly after that, we shared things. He made a way for me to go to the winter retreat that I desperately wanted to go to, that I could not afford. So I'm still convinced that he worked things out and paid for it if he couldn't find money. He made it so I can go to this winter retreat. And that night, I told you I was a faker. So I was there January 28th of 2014, or 2000, January 28th of 2000, and the speaker named Steve Wilburn is up there telling a really cool story about Burger King and all this different stuff, and I'm listening, and then as a faker, he gives an altar call. And my friends that are with me are responding and walking up to give their hearts to Jesus, and for me, I'm clapping, going, yeah, woo, yeah, you. And at that moment, as I'm cheering, fake cheering, and thinking that I'm in a good place when I'm not, God spoke so seriously to my heart that I've never heard it. I mean, I've heard God speak, but this was so loud, resounding within my spirit that I can't even replicate it. He told me, he said, you hypocrite, get up there. And so that
when God speaks, you move.
Totally. So I did.
Yeah.
I walked up January 28th of 2000, and I said, okay, God, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this.
You surrendered.
I surrendered. So it's been over 15 years now of serving God, and some crazy things I'll tell a little bit more of what happened after that, but that's the moment that I surrendered everything I had to Jesus. And I got to tell you, it's been nothing but this crazy uphill climb of drawing close to Him and having joy, and it's been awesome.
And that was, so you were how old at that point?
I was 16.
16, okay, good.
We'll just say that's 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3. Well, you look like you're 16 now.
Thank
so.
you.
But you're blessed because you have one of those perpetual youthful faces. Like, you will be 80 and still be a youth pastor because you're going to look like, you're 16.
You know the Six Flags guy, the old guy with the cane? I want to be the youth pastor version of that.
You will be.
So I hope so.
You will be.
A lot of people want to become a senior pastor and do this. I might do that
Your heart's
someday.
with the kids. Yeah, who knows where God will take you.
Totally.
Never say never.
Totally.
In God's kingdom. So, yeah.
Totally.
Wow, what a story. Well, there's so many things I want to kind of unpack from that, too.
Totally.
I want to talk about, what do you attribute the fact, we'll talk about this when we get back from break, but what did you attribute that, that it took so, the faking part of it and the pride. So we'll talk more about that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.